Okay.
Hey, folks, welcome to another stream here with Kubernetes Sri Lanka. And as you have seen on our socials, the topic for today is on securing Kubernetes with the OPA Gatekeeper. And to talk about this, we have someone very special here, Adil, joining us all the way from Pakistan. He's a seasoned Kubernetes and DevOps consultant. Adil, you want to introduce yourself?
Hello. Thank you, Evan, for introducing me. Hi, Sri Lanka. I love actually Sri Lanka. The beaches are so cool. So it's really a great chance for me to present myself here. So today the session is about open policy agent. So we will see something we learn about the Kubernetes architecture. Today we will be go through open policy agent, what it is, how it is working, and we will do some boring stuff on a terminal. So yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so we'll get on with it. And folks joining us, if y'all have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat and we'll get to them at the end of the session. Adil, you can take it away.
Oh, thank you. So I'm going to share my screen. Meanwhile, I might not be able to, because right now I'm working with a single screen, so might not be able to see the comments. So I will get back to the comments and the question answers when I'm done with the presentation and the hands-on, and we will see then the questions if you guys have. Okay. All right. Let me share my screen really quick. Oh, it's visible now. We were doing some testing before. Okay. So thank you so much for everyone for joining today. And the topic will be very basic. We will try to understand the Kubernetes architecture before we get started learning what is OPA, which is stand for Open Policy Agent, and how we will see how it is working with Open Policy Agent Gateway, which is also known as Gatekeeper. So before we get started, I want to introduce myself. I'm from Pakistan and I'm working as a DevOps consultant. So mainly, I have expertise with AWS and Kubernetes, trying to learning Kubernetes and helping others. So today we have a beautiful character designed by Moise, who is also the part of KCD Lahore, and we are trying to help our local community with the Kubernetes learning, empower them to get the Kubernetes jobs, remote jobs. All right. So here's Adil, and Adil want to learn about the Kubernetes architecture. So we will help him today. He's kinda in the pirated characters, so want to steal some security and all that. So before we just started learning with OPA, which is now an open policy gatekeeper, we need to learn about the Kubernetes architecture. We have to know how it is working. Then we can easily understand how OPA is working in the Kubernetes. So if you see, we have a kubectl, which is your CLI and which is used to control your control plane and the node. And in the control plane, which is like a ship, for example, if I give an example of a ship, and it just work like a captain, and which manage all your resources and your machines, have a multiple machine, it just manage all the machines in case if anything just went down. Control plane just have all the information, so just work like a captain. And in the API server, this noun has a communication So if I can give you an example, just like a receptions, you call the reception and just get back to you with the details. So for example, you want to get the kubectl get port, and API server will give you the information. Okay. So if you see here, this is whole like you're all about detail about the API resources like kind namespaces from where you can get all the detail, and according to that, this is like all the departments, and according all the departments you can manage your resources through API. So all right, let me go back to my screen. And the second is which is scheduler. And the scheduler, if I can give you in the easy words what it is, if you want to apply a new pod, so here the scheduler will perform the task for you. It will see what nodes have a capabilities to manage this pod deployments or the services. So here the scheduler will perform this for you. In case if you request for a 4 GB memory, then it will see from the node which have the capabilities have this memory, so it will schedule that port. So this is the scheduler which manage this job for you on a control plane and the nodes. And the control plane manager will see if anything just went down, and it just makes sure everything working perfect on the all the nodes and the control plane. And anything just went down, it just inform the control plane, and the DevOps team or the SRE engineers will figure it out. And etcd, which is known at cd, which is a separate CLI which is used to which is also work as a database configuration, which is work as like a NoSQL, which is have a value and key, and it just save all the record of your control plane, nodes, API servers. All the information is stored here in the etcd. So it just work like a database for the Kubernetes. And this is very essential to know how etcd work, how to take the backup of etcd if in case if you're upgrading your servers and all that. So this is very important, this because they save all the information of your control plane. And like all the information just go here when you perform. If I perform kubectl get pod, and when it just return me the query, it just save the query here to make sure that what just perform on the server. So this is very cool resource from the CNCF. So if I just make it a bigger diagram, if you can see the kubectl, which and we have a control plane, I have a single node. You can add multiple nodes, so your diagram will be a change a bit. Like if I have a node 2, the diagram will be same. But for example, for this session, I'm just taking a node, single node, and I just have a control plane, and the control plane is managing the node. And the control plane have API server, scheduler, controller, etcd. And in the node you can see a multiple port, and you can have multiple board, but I was a little space here, so going with the port 1 and port 2. And in the port we have a different containers running. We can just take an example, nginx, alpine, busybox, and this is the second port have their own containers. And you can see the container d, which is your container engine. Docker was deprecated in Kubernetes 1.24. After this, the CNCF and Kubernetes is using container D. So whenever you install kubeadm, you will see you need to install the container D, because Docker shim support is now deprecated. There's a lot in the diagram which I skipped. Just make it easy, because the deployments part was just skipped, replica set was just skipped, uh, to just not making things difficult for you. Otherwise, if you want to explore more about Kubernetes architecture, I would suggest you Code Cloud have such great resources. And this is very important. Node is just like if I said control plane is just like a captain to you, here the node is like a shipman who just need to the kubelet who just need to give the record back to the control plane, to the captain, what just happened, if anything just went down, if any port just went down, or the container D is not performing well, the kubelet need to let the let let the control plane now. If anything, like for example, if a DevOps engineer missed the calco or any networking port here, so the kubelet will inform the control plane that the ports are not working and they have the networking issues, so you can just resolve the issue. And kubeproxy is like routing to your ports. Like in case if I have a database here which is MySQL and I need to connect them, so the kubeproxy will make the connections. So it just makes sure all the forwarding and the routing is working on your pod and in your deployment. So this is the purpose of kubeproxy here. So we are not going to explore, like we are not going to explore about more about pods or the node. The only concern is about API server, because OPA, which is Open Policy Agent, working with API servers. So let's see how it's working. So if you see the API server need the OPA have their own namespace. When I go with the installation, I will show you they have just their own namespace, which is Gatekeeper. And you can also change it, but by default they are using OPA Gatekeeper. And when you send the request, like I'm just sending the request to create a Kubernetes pod, and it just check it either it's compliance or not. In case if it's just not compliance, it just send you a command that that the request is rejected. Or in case if you are following all the guidelines which is provided to you from your organization, like whenever you create a new pod, you need to add the labels, specific labels, or you need to perform this before adding a pod. Or in case if anything, like if a new DevOps engineer just hired, or he don't know, either they just need to use 4 GB RAM or 6 GB or 2 GB, then you can, with the help of OPA, you can just make sure that everything is compliance and not violations are not occurred. So this is how it is working. You send the API resource command, and then you have just set up your configurations map with JSON file. And uh, when in case anything which is not in the database, your policies are not exist in the database, you can create your multiple policies. And I will show you how are the patterns from where you can create the policies and manage your open policy agent. So before we see what is which is OPA, which is known as Open Policy Agent, which is a tool which need to help the organization to enforce policies. So OPA is a very old technologies in the Linux, and which is now adopt to Kubernetes to make sure that all the ports and the deployments and your environment provisioning need to be optimized, and they are following all the compliance which are needed for the organization. So, so this is how. So the mainly the more focus is toward like how open policy agent works with Kubernetes, which is really important. For this lab, I am not going to do for the CI/CD, because this is mainly the part about you have all the policies in your GitHub repository, and you have a GitHub actions. Like if you are not vendor restricted, or you can use TeamCity, Jenkins for the CI, or GitLab CI/CD, whatever you prefer. And then you created a CI where you just apply all the configuration. You're just giving the command that we just need to create a pod, and it just get the OPA will see is either the request need to be denied or just need to give the response back to the API server. In case if the request compliance completed, it just requests back and the CI will perform the task. And you can also use your mesh, or you can use controllers like ALB to manage the API server, and then they will do perform the task. For this we are using kubectl, which will from this we will apply to the API server, and they will go to OPA. And in case if the compliance is okay, they just get back to the API server, and then the query will back to kubectl to create the pod with the specific labels. So this is more about but this is what I get the diagram from the CNCF documentation. But this is like this is more details about the open policy gatekeeper namespace, how it is working, how it is performing. Okay. Okay, so so in case if you are about what is K here, so you can just go to Kubernetes cheat sheet and just add this to your terminal or to your Mac machine. So it will just auto complete the kubectl for you, and this is very essential for if you are preparing yourself for Kubernetes exams. And this is just auto completed your for your Vim and all that. So so also for the gateway gatekeeper, this is the official documentation of how you can install the gatekeeper. So this is very easy. You just need to copy the command and it just get the files from the GitHub and apply the settings and 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 this is what it is doing, which is kubectl apply -f, and it just get the file from the GitHub. And I just click here and it just create a namespace, which I already explained, which is a gatekeeper system. And the gatekeeper system have all the files, which I can show you, have all the files which are authentication webhooks, your admission controller. If you are using ALB, which I said app mesh or ALB to control your API servers and OPA, this is what you need to do. If and they, it will just create a policy template, CRD, and policy instance for you. And if you and this is here when just it is installed. And okay, so when it just installed, you need to type kubectl get board, which is this is used for your namespace -n, and this is the name of the gatekeeper system which just created. So -n is the namespace, and you can see this audit controller manager has been installed, and it will be managed by your API server. Now the next step is about this documentation, which I found from the Kubernetes. This is the blog, but it is very outdated. And when I was performing this, I found out this code was also very outdated. Uh, but I figured it out. So we just need to make some changes. So this will create a constraint template, and what is going here, let me explain you. Before that, I need to create. So vi is used for Vim. Okay. Oops. Okay, let me just. Okay, let me show you what's going on. Yeah. So for to manage, so the first step is we just install the gatekeeper, and it just have their all the files in the namespace, which is gatekeeper system. And now we need to create a templates which are kind of our policies, and it just we need to add them, and also we need to tell them what need to be performed or what need to be restricted. And if you see, this is the API version, and this is the kind, which is the kind is as it already give the command about kubectl API resources, and you can grab the constraint template, and you can see API servers is managed this kind. And meta have the namespace, you can change this, but we are going with this one. This is about kubectl required label. So the task is about that we need to restrict the users to have a specific labels. In case if they don't have a labels, it just reject their queries. So we have the space, and in the request we have list kind, and this is we don't need this. And in the validation, open API version v3 schema. In the labels we have a type array, and in the items this is just we need to change. So if you are on the older version like 1.25 or 24 of the Kubernetes, this will work. But I am using Kubernetes 1.29, which is the latest version, to make sure this lab is on the latest update from of the CNCF and Kubernetes. So if you can just see the video and make the changings, because this documentation is really cool, and all which I just give information to you. I just extract this information to you, because reading documentation I also feel bored or sleepy. So you can just get all the information about this policy template, and this is a very beautiful documentation. So you can also perform by seeing here, but when I just perform the task from here, it just the code was very outdated. So I need to be make sure that these are up to date. Okay. So the label, when the label you have an array, which is, the array means you have multiple kinds like port, namespaces, deployments, replica set. So it just restrict to, like for example, if I add port, it just restrict my port and just add namespaces. For this I'm using array, so I can just add multiple values and add the items, which is a type string. So like for example, if I we are giving the label like HR, or the values like production environment, so this will be in the string. So the target will be our gatekeeper, this is a file, and in the rego this is a language which is supported by OPA. And in this this is outdated, they are not using deny, they are using now violation. Okay, so the violation message will be if in case anyone just not follow the compliance, it just said you must provide label, and the label will be the HR for this lab. And I'll just write and quit. To apply this, I just type K, which is stand for kubectl, and apply. And I just need to give the file name, which is uh, template dash constraint dot yaml. And the next is we need to give so the label is now we just add a policy, and we just need to add a required label. So it just restrict the port. For example, you can type get kubectl API resources. All right, and then you can type grep here, and we just need to look for this one. Okay, you see this is the Kubernetes required label. So this exists, and this is the API. When if you need to handle through API, you need to add this, and this is the kind, which is a kubectl required label. All right, so from here, like kubectl API resources, you get all the informations. For example, if you want to get the information of this, which is a constraint template, you can get from here. Okay, so here you go. So we are using this. Okay, so this is how you can, from this API, you can just control your constraint templates. Okay, let me get back. So as I said, to control the API versions, you can do this using API resources to get the API value, and you don't need to remember them. Don't worry. For the exam, and for the kind, you just need to put, like if you're creating deployments, or like port, creating port, your kind will be port. If you are deploying deployments, replica set, config maps, so it will be changed accordingly. Sorry. So your metadata, this is the naming. You can also specify it to the namespace. You just add the value namespace, and it just restrict it to a specific namespace. So namespaces are like an isolated space where you can create deployments, and you can manage multiple environments and your applications. And in case if the match will be kind, and for this I'm not using a namespace, I will be go and use port. Let me show you from where I get this value. Parameter will be HR. All right, right and quit. And okay, let me apply it first. Okay, let me show you from where I get the value of pod. So you kubectl API resources, and you need to find the pod. And you can see we are using this kind pod, and if you have a pod template you have to use this. If you are using horizontal pod scaler which is used to auto scale your pod, so you have to use this kind. So this is how you can see multiple kinds, and you can use them accordingly. All right, so I just apply the uh, the template and our restrictions that it should have. And now we need to just add a port. And easiest way which I found is that when you type like run and run, like for example, and you just type help. So if you scroll up you will get the example to get started. So what we are looking for is this is like if in case we provide a specific level, it just approved, otherwise it just rejected. And I just copied this and add this. I can make it change. I think I don't need this. Okay, so uh, so let me clear this. Okay, so you see it's just saying that error from server. You must provide label HR. So if I just go back to the example, like for example, if I need to create a deployment, the best way I found is create deployment and help. It just help you with the commands. All right, so you get the command about kubectl, how you can create. And this is kubectl is used, create is used to if you are getting from the file. And sorry, then was here. Okay, okay, so we just labels equal to HR. And yes, okay, okay. So you see, when we provide a specific label, like when we did not provide the label, it just reject our, like you need to provide a specific label. So when like you provided a label, the HR or like environment equal to dev, it just accept. So where we can use this, so we can use like if we have multiple environments, or our developers are not listening to us, you just give them a multiple sessions or restrict them to use a proper environments. Because if you are working on a very big project, the biggest problem is that the developers forget what they created, what environments these machines are of environments. And uh, so so this is how we can figure it out. All right. Uh, Okay, so this is the documentation. You can explore this information if you want to. So the session I covered was a very basic, but it's a very good start to get started with the open policy agent. To perform this task, I usually prefer Killer Coda, and we also have a dedicated playground from where you can perform this. It just create a that will create a proper server for you, and on that server you can perform specific tasks. The one of the case I am using, I am performing the task from my web, and it's isolated. Like I just need a 1 hour Kubernetes. I can just do perform, and I can just delete it whenever I want. So also I do for the exams. These are the best for the learning. These are like sandboxes. You don't need to pay, and your credit card just saved. All right. So that's it. If anyone have a question, we can now discuss. And yeah,
All right. Thank you very much for the session and the detailed breakdown of everything. We'll give a few seconds in the chat to for anyone with questions to submit, and we can proceed if not. Yeah. Seems like we don't have any questions in the chat. And that does not come as a surprise considering how detailed and clear the explanations and the breakdowns were. So thank you very much for that once again. And thank you very much for joining us tonight, Adil.
yeah. Actually, the question is about why people don't have a questions, because uh, these topics are when Kamod cover the Hallam session. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm audible.
Thank you very much. And yeah, you're audible. You can go ahead.
Yeah. So seems like we don't have a questions here, but we are always open for the questions. LinkedIn, you can send me a message on LinkedIn. If anything just not covered, we can have a chit chat on a LinkedIn. And also, I'm creating a proper documentation, a proper article on this, and I share with you. You can share with your community.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll
Sound good?
definitely send that. Yeah, send that through to our community. And
All
if
right.
you folks have any questions, you can contact Adil on LinkedIn. Thank you very much for joining once again. Good night.